The New South Wales Labor government handed down its first state budget since 2010 yesterday, with Treasurer Daniel Mookhey announcing a $2.2 billion housing and infrastructure package as its centrepiece. The deficit this year is expected to be $7.8 billion before a moderate surplus next year of about $800 million. Joining me now is Daniel Hunter, Chief Executive of Business New South Wales. Daniel, thanks so much for your time. This seemed like a pretty fiscally responsible budget from the new government.
Yeah, I think they inherited a difficult position. Basically, their spending was outstripping their revenue, so they had that structural deficit. They had mounting debt. We've got to remember, going into the pandemic 4 years ago, they had no real net debt in the state, and now they're carrying a lot of debt, and they need to do something about that. So it's really important for the state to maintain its credit rating if it can, and they need to get that spending under control, and I think they've done that.
Yeah, so 2 out of the 3 ratings agencies still have New South Wales as AAA.
Yeah.
I think the deficit last year was almost $12 billion.
Yep.
This year it's now coming down to about $8 billion. So it looks like it was pretty responsible.
Yeah, I think that's right. They're trying to get the house in order. This is almost a budget before a budget.
Yeah.
Because I'll go back into a budgeting cycle very shortly, and they'll deliver another one around May next year. And that's when I think they'll look to reprioritise spending and really start to get things going in the direction that they want to move the economy.
From a small business perspective, or medium-sized business as well, no new taxes.
Yeah, so they honoured that commitment going into the election, which we really appreciate, of no new business taxes. Yeah. We think that's really important. We want New South Wales to be an attractive place to do business. Some other places aren't doing that. We really want those startups, the investment in New South Wales. We really want New South Wales to be the business state.
Yeah, well, we've seen with the Victoria, with their budget earlier this year, debt there is going to reach about $171 billion by 2026, 2027. And we've actually seen some businesses are starting to leave to go to South Australia, and Adelaide has incentives. So we obviously don't want that to happen here.
Yeah, that's right. Victoria put up their payroll tax rate, which didn't go down very well at all. And other states are going after their businesses, and they're probably losing some. So, yeah, we've got to be careful in New South Wales that doesn't happen to us. We've got a very proud history here in New South Wales of really being embryonic for businesses, growing some really big success stories. Think Atlassian and companies like that. We want the investment, we want the starts, we want it to be attractive here in New South Wales.
One of the big centrepieces of the budget was $2.2 billion for housing and infrastructure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously not a lot of money, but it's a decent amount of money.
I think it's a nod to the future. So yeah. I think there will be more on housing. All roads lead back to housing at the moment. It is the key issue, not just for people in general, but for business as well. It's impacting business and their ability to really optimise their operations. Businesses are about people, and people need to live close to where they work. So it's a big issue for business and for people in general. So housing, I think there'll be more to come on that.
Yeah, we know Australia's population grew about 2% last year, which was pretty high level.
Yep.
I think almost 40-odd thousand people are added to our economy population-wise each month. So
yep.
Finding places for these people to live is critical.
Yep.
See in the budget about $4.9 billion to build 43 new schools across the state. So that obviously feeds into the whole population and housing issue.
I think that's right. Schools and a lot for hospitals still as well. So those regional areas, I think, are suffering in housing as well. I was up in the Northern Rivers last week, actually. So I think people are crying out for the infrastructure and the housing, not just here in Metro Sydney, but also the regional areas are really hurting too.
Look, one issue, there didn't seem like there was any funding put aside for the Araring power station on the Central Coast, biggest power station in the country.
Yep.
You got any concerns about that and electricity prices 2025 onwards when it's scheduled to shut?
Look, I think government signalled their intent on Araring, so I think they will do something to keep it open. We're supportive of that. Look, business wants to transition to green energy. Everyone does, but we cannot take the risk of having blackouts and huge power outages and soaring prices. So we see Araring as not ideal, but it's certainly a piece of the puzzle, and it probably needs to stay open a bit longer than what we thought.
And there was no commitment on whether Metro West Rail will go ahead or not.
Yeah, look, I think we're still in deep conversation about that. I think a lot of those infrastructure projects will continue and will get delivered, and they're important that they do get delivered, yeah.
Daniel Hunter, Chief Executive, Business New South Wales. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.